Hello out there. Welcome to another live broadcast here at AutoCrit. I'm Daniel, a story coach, teacher, editor here at AutoCrit, and we have a lot to cover today. So, of course, we're going to be announcing the winners of the Change the World Challenge. I know you're all very excited about that. And we're even going to look over some of those entries, some of our favorite submissions, and get a look under the hood with the AutoCrit software. That'll be lots of fun. And then later, we're going to be announcing our next challenge. If you missed out on the Change the World Challenge, don't worry. We have these challenges coming fast and furious because we want to encourage everybody to get writing. So we have another one coming your way in September, and I already have some people guessing what that's going to be. It's so much fun. All right. So that being said, change the world. Yes, that's the first focus. What was this Change the World Challenge? Well, we asked everybody from our logline to create a world and eventually a story synopsis. You all rose to the challenge. We had such great submissions. I was really surprised, actually. Not that you guys aren't usually awesome, but you really did step it up. Like some fantastic submissions. It made it very difficult for us to determine who was going to be the winner. In fact, we have a little bit of a surprise regarding that as well. So stay tuned to that. Um, we told you to write a brief synopsis of your story. A lot of you said, yeah, that was the biggest challenge. How do I condense my thoughts into 1,000 words? So I hope you enjoyed the exercise. We do challenge you around here at AutoCrit. That's part of our goal. Get people writing, give you new challenges, help you grow as an artist. And yeah, less is more. And again, great job. I did not have to throw out a single entry because it was too long. Shocking, right? I know you followed the guidelines. Great. We've trained you well. Now, what our participants had to go on was this log line. A world-weary courier takes on one last assignment, only to discover the package they're transporting holds a shocking secret. When a momentary lapse in judgment leaves them stranded in unfamiliar territory, they must fight for survival against the elements and a ruthless organization hell bent on retrieving the cargo. Apparently, Lori, you deleted something important out of your synopsis. Whoops. It happens, but thankfully, this is all in fun, right? So you still did the challenge. You're still a winner, for for sure. Before we get to our grand winners, we had so much fun reading some of these submissions last week that I thought rather than just go through and just come right out with the winners, we could add a little bit of suspense. But we could also look at some honorable mentions, right? I want to point out some of the works that maybe are not winners, but they did an excellent job. And I'll be honest, it was challenging. If some of you think that we missed the mark, feel free to comment below, let us know, and be like, "What were you thinking? One of the honorable mentions was great." It does get very subjective when you get to this quality level, but there were some reasons, and I will point them out why I feel like the winners were in fact the winners, and that'll give us you a little bit of a look underneath the hood, behind the scenes, as it were, of these challenges, and help you perhaps in the next one, which the next one's going to be great. We're going to get to that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up AutoCrit here, if I can. Ba-ding. Yes, so our first one we have has this score of 77. Now, typically, AutoCrit, we are comparing against prose writing. For this challenge, we told you to write a synopsis. So, we can't really compare it against pro writing. So I have it against a nonfiction narrative to get closer. But even so, these reports are really looking at best practices of writing in general. And so, even though you would expect the scores to perhaps be a little bit lower because they're not going to match in the same way, 77 is quite strong. Now, you might be thinking at home, well, did they just run all of these through AutoCrit and then just look at the scores and that's what determined the winner? No, because remember, this was not a challenge about how well you wrote. It was about your idea. So even though we're going to take a look at that and how well you wrote, which does impact how well you're communicating your ideas. Ultimately, this was an ideas challenge. And so one of the winners, well, actually, you'll see some of the scores come up in honorable mentions are really high, but they are not, in fact, the grand winner because I did like the ideas a bit more, even though you could argue they were not communicated as well, right? Gets a little bit tricky here in the writing world. All right, so let's look at Black Friday Escape. And for honorable mentions, I'm not going to mention your name, but if I do end up mentioning your work, feel free to call it out and let me know out there in the comments if this is clear enough for you to read. It looks clear on my screen, so just let me know if I need to make an adjustment. I could zoom in or something. Uh, 30 years ago, let me go ahead and read this. Carl Matson signed on with the Ajax Courier Service as an apprentice courier. Over the years, he shined in the courier business. His service record reads like an embattled world travelogue. The entries document his struggles and successes as he learned the ins and outs to become prestige level courier, a feat he achieved in a record 10 years. With 2 weeks until a well-deserved retirement, he commits the unconscionable. I talk today? I don't know. Volunteer. I'm just so excited. Volunteers for one last priority run with a rookie, Jamie Call in tow. Evan Shells is head of security for the world renowned. I think it should be renowned. Bakery chain Cakes Are Us. Who would suspect bakery goods is a cutthroat business, where one little ingredient mistake guarantees doom, where innovation marks success and ensures longevity at the top of the food chain, where people like Evans are employed to guarantee a place at the top is maintained? The time? The Friday after Thanksgiving, aka Black Friday. The mission: deliver an envelope marked eyes only. Colette James, CEO, New Hope Bakeries, LLC, Moose Haven, MT. With only a 4-hour drive needed to complete their mission, Carl and Jamie set off in their silver Ajax van. What they don't realize is Evans and two of his goons are tracking them. 10 minutes into their trip, Jamie requests a pit stop. His only responsibility is to control the envelope, but rookies make mistakes. The envelope flutters out of his hand and lands in a snowdrift. When Carl recovers the envelope, it's a mess. Opening their delivery is against company policy, but they decide to break policy to ensure the contents are safe and undamaged. What they discover is a recipe for a snickerdoodle wedding cake with coordinated frosting. I do love the coordinated frosting. That's great. Marked top secret, property of New Hope Bakeries LLC. Fortunately, that recipe is intact, but they need a new envelope. Unfortunately for them, a store is just around the corner. Unbeknownst to Carl and Jamie, the moment they enter the stores, their lives will never be the same. On Black Friday, the Pleasant Supercenter is anything but pleasant, and where non discount shoppers go to die, or so it will seem to them. The good news: Evan and his goons are non discount shoppers too. Anyway, so it keeps going. It's such a fun premise, right? And such a different take on the courier with the life-changing package, the secret about it and people are after it. To be honest, I mean, this one's a lot of fun. Somebody said this one's yours. Oh, this one's yours. Great job. Yes. I will say I love the sense of humor. I love the creativity. I love that you went somewhere I didn't expect. Yeah, right. It was somewhere I didn't expect. I would say though that while this felt like a really great hook and it really felt like an expansion of a log line, what I would have loved to see a little bit more was a little bit more of this world building, especially as it continues, because you don't exactly have the strongest sense as to why the people really want the envelope. Obviously, it's a great recipe and it's cutthroat, but like, what is it going to mean for their business? And also, some of this, just more detail about the world. This was really great plot development. So this was a plot challenge. I really loved it. But from a world building standpoint, I wanted a little bit more depth. And I can understand it's like, well, it's bakery, isn't it kind of straightforward? But, a little bit more would have been helpful. But this was quite excellent. Am I frozen? I hope not. I hope I'm not frozen. Not frozen. Great. All right. So, but great job. Excellent, excellent work. Okay. Let's move on to our next honorable mention. Maybe Lori will share the rest of it. This one got a 92. I know. It's pretty strong. This I would expect this to be quite tight writing, right? And again, really high score. This was not ultimately one of my winners, but because even though it was very well presented, I just like some of the ideas and the winners better. But it does goes to show you, presenting your ideas in a productive way, in an effective way, really matters. That's one reason why it could make it to an honorable mention status. Just really tight. I mean, we can just look down and it's like there's almost no indicators for anything, because it's just really tightly written. All right, let's look at this. Oh, I gave away the name. I'm sorry, but I do really like this, and I'm telling everybody how tight your writing is. So hopefully you're okay with that. The flying junkie founder of Zelda's jetpack couriers sets out on her last assignment for the fourth time. Zelda's love of flying hit an all-time low after endless fires leave the California sky so thick she'd rather be swimming in clam chowder. At her age, she should be sitting on a beach sipping a refreshing cocktail, not zipping through the air at 80 miles per hour, but she gave her word. The Dawn Laboratory was her first customer, and navigating the airspace to their secret island is tricky. After years of seclusion, the lab is being relocated. The project nearly complete, they have one last package for delivery. According to the longtime friend, Dr. Dawn Crane, the package is so sensitive, she only trusts Zelda, who agrees to handle the job herself. In the courier business, it's a liability to think about content. Kind of sounds familiar. Okay. Service, timing, and package care matter as much as discretion and loyalty. Her company's delivery record, 100%. She would let nothing impact the organization's unblemished record before turning over the keys to its new owner the following week. After picking up the package, Zelda opts to take a shortcut and a final bird's eye glimpse at what used to be her favorite spot in California. When her pack malfunctions, she regrets her decision and executes an emergency landing in the desolate, burned out site of the former city of Napa, California. Once lush and full of grapes ripening on the vines, the now charred valley is a tomb of people, animals, and plants. Despite being classified as a disaster area, no amount of funds would return the region to its fragrant and tasty glory. From Napa to Calistoga, the smoky smell of death reflects the mass exodus from the once densely populated state. The valley is susceptible to violent weather swings. Storm clouds on the horizon force her to find shelter. Just love this world building, and it feels very believable. Like I have friends who live in Northern California, and they're talk about the fire, all this stuff, and yeah, this is really great. Yes, Dr. Crane's Vineyard is one of Napa's best. Yes. Oh, you're here. Hi, MJ. Congratulations. You did a great job. This is fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. When when many California highways become impassable, her airborne courier service literally took off. Based on government reports, the former wine growing region is abandoned. However, during her search for shelter, Zelda uncovers a community of outcasts who have taken over the old wine caves. A separate social system based on bartering technology and secrecy is thriving underground. And it just keeps going further and further. I love the very end though, where you find out, hold on. Well, you find out that the contents of the package are Dawn Labs saved clones from major Napa producers in an attempt to re-engineer vines to produce comparable pre-fire wines. So ultimately, this is a whole big story about trying to restore the the once um, prosperous area of Napa Valley to its former glory. I mean, it's great stuff. And you're like, whoa, that wasn't a winner. I know it was tough. It was really tough. That's why I wanted to show these honorable mentions, right? Because it gets to be like a hair decision on some of these. So, but great work. And you can see too the writing. Look at it's very clean. It's very beautiful to read as just writing itself. So all around great job. All right, let's move on to the next honorable mention. Also, a 92, more or less, 91. Okay, so you would expect again, we're going to see very clean writing, very clear to the point, not a lot of wandering sentences. Okay, 42-year-old Antonio Davies is retiring to a small island off Costa Rica and reclaiming the life he once enjoyed before being recruited by the Jeffrey Courier Service. After two failed marriages, the thrill of world travel transporting classified and dangerous cargo no longer appeals to him. Having earned more than enough money, he now looks forward to refinishing the vintage wooden boat he purchased for next to nothing and spending a few years of mindless fishing. On a flight to Berlin, Germany, the first stop towards home, Antonio doses doses, I would think is what we're getting at, in the 747's first class air suite when the door opens and a stranger enters who introduces herself only as Pamela. She makes him an offer he can't refuse, although it will soon become apparent that he should have. The instructions are simple, hardly worth the $1 million upfront incentive. Upon landing, retrieve a package outside Berlin. Pamela gives him an envelope and tells him not to open it until he has the package in hand, then disappears among the airplane's 400 passengers. Later that evening, when Antonio enters a small bungalow outside Germany's capital city, he discovers the package is a young boy around 8 years old. I did tell you it could be a person, right? So yeah, you picked up on that. The boy sits on the floor of a house devoid of furnishings or heat on this frigid winter's night in an apparent trance. Antonio's never handled human cargo before and doesn't want to start now, so he opens the envelope hoping to find a way to decline the job. Instead, he finds three words written on a single sheet of paper: take him home. Take him home to where? It doesn't say, but there is a phone number. This was one that, again, like the first example in the honorable mentions, did a really great job with all of those story beats. I would say it didn't do as much specific world building as I might have wanted, because it really focused on the plot. But it was a great plot. So that's one of those things. It's like brilliant work. Not going to be the best example for this specific challenge, but so far, some people have said earlier, it's like, hey, you got some nano material, right? Because all of these are excellent, and I would love to see them continuing to develop. And if you do continue to develop, come back on the live stream and be like, hey, obviously honorable mention in Change the World, and now my book is on Amazon or whatever it is, right? Let us know. Because I could easily see some of these going on. And in fact, I would love to read them. So let me know so I can read them. All right. So that being said, let's move on a little bit further. This one's an 84.7. I will tell you that neither of the winners were as high as the 90s. Oh, I said neither of the winners. Yes. I kind of gave away a little bit of surprise there. We have more than one winner because I couldn't decide on just one. So, how many? We'll find out in a moment. But we have more than one because, come on, these are so great. How can we just have one winner? Okay. Ending boredom may not be the answer to a fulfilling life. No two serial killers are the same. Each has a different personal motive for their act, mode of killing, and victim type desired. Yet all are driven to murder repeatedly. Walt Saxon, name changed for Privacy Act, wasn't born with this psychological malady, nor was he abused as a child or suffer a personal trauma. He was just driven by a perpetual boredom, always looking for something different to keep him interested. That was until he saw a job listing. Like excitement, something new with each assignment, want to continually think out of the box? Walt was intrigued. Although he thought it was a ploy for some mundane job, he responded with his usual cover letter and forgot all about it until seeing the package by his door marked "End Boredom Forever." Inside the package, he found a very brief note. $100,000 in ready cash is waiting in your name in the below numbered bank account. Please call the financial institution to confirm it is on hold. This really feels like those typical spam things, too, but I like that. All you need to do is follow these easy directions. Read the attached information about the person you must kill for the noted fee. Within 2 days, send a text to the number below and confirm your acceptance of this assignment. You are now under contract. If you do not do as contracted, someone else will be assigned to kill this person and you. Kill the assigned person without leaving any evidence and, of course, getting caught. We will not provide any legal assistance if you are arrested. That's a pretty good caveat, right? Obtain your $100,000 as soon as death notification occurs. Enjoy solving the best manner of death and your given fee for a job well done. From now on, the payment amount and difficulty of assignment will increase incrementally. You can end employment at any time by not accepting an assignment. You will not receive any more packages. Remember, once you accept an assignment, you must follow through. All right, so yeah, I mean that's a pretty good hook, right? Definitely on board. Yikes! I love it. I know it's one of those things when you hear other people's writing. Sometimes it could be like, oh, that's really good, but please let it inspire you. Don't let it deflate you. I'm sure all of you have amazing jobs, and you can rise to the occasion if you feel like you're not quite at this level yet. Although, who knows? You might be the next honorable mention. I don't know. We've got at least one more, I think. Yep, we have one more left. Again, this was really great. The one thing I have said this a few times, so I apologize if I sound like a broken record. Again, this felt a little bit more like a plot hook, and a little less about the world building. Because ultimately, by the end of the whole thing, I'm still not quite sure, like, kind of what the organization is up to, and things like that. It's a bit of a pitch as if I'm a new reader, and I was really looking for something that would give me a full look at all of the world building that you might encompass in your story, which is where the winners stood out. But again, that doesn't mean this is poor. It's just not necessarily as well suited for this specific challenge. So I do want to give a hats off or helmet off to our honorable mentions. We'll go into our final honorable mention, and then maybe kind of announce the grand winners because that's what you're all here for, right? I mean, these honorable mentions are great though. Okay, so this one's a 73. It's a little bit lower, but again, when you're comparing not against pros, you might expect that, but you probably will notice as I read through this that the actual presentation is not quite as sharp, and that does affect how it's going to reach you. I wasn't really analyzing that in terms of who would win this challenge, but it's always best to put your best foot forward. Missed again. Yes, as Gray said, this was a good challenge. It's hard to build world building in a synopsis. There's no time for complexity, and you have to balance between giving the story, giving it of a basis in the world to make the stakes of the story clear. I know it was a challenge. It's kind of the point, though. It was a challenge, but I will say there were very few exceptions that I thought completely missed the mark. Like I was like, you really have a long, a long way to go as an artist. Almost everybody were giving solid responses, very thoughtful responses to this challenge. And I thank you for that. I really do, because, as you can imagine, when you read through all this, you don't necessarily want to come face to face with a whole bunch of, nonsense ones, or people really, it didn't seem like they spent a lot of effort. But I didn't feel like that at all. I felt like people really did try to put their best foot forward. And I really appreciate that. You took it seriously too. And that's great. It also means that you grew as artists, which is even better because that's what we're all about here at AutoCrit. Okay. It's the Neolithic era. Okay, you kind of already have me because that's cool. Or Iraq, I guess, or Urk, has a reputation in his tribal village as a reliable runner. They have no riding animals, so all communication and transport is done by men on foot runners. He is getting older and has many runs, some of which have caused him injuries. Excuse me. He would like to stop and live as an elder in his village, where he'd be appreciated for his experience and former contributions to his tribe. The wise woman of his village tells him that he is the only person she trusts for a truly important run. She gives him a bag that contains something that she wants the village of wise ones to have. He's never been to the village of wise ones. He knows what direction it's supposed to be in, but it may be legendary. He dutifully sets out without expectation of success. He comes to a river and tries to ford it. The current is too strong, and he loses his footing and is washed down the river and barely escapes drowning. He struggles to shore in an area generally avoided by the tribes. It has rocky and fertile soil and is inhabited by predatory animals. Because he is lost and does not really know what to do, he opens the bag. Instead, he finds a plastic doll head. He has no idea what it is made of, but realizes it is a representation of a woman, one unlike he has ever seen before. He decides it is a powerful goddess. His tribe believes that a representation of a goddess is the goddess. He hopes he is doing her will and she will protect him. As an experienced runner, he can read the land, so he is able to set off in the direction he wants to go even when he doesn't really know where he is. He sees three very strange people. They outnumber him and may have weapons, so he stealthily avoids them. They are time travelers. The presence of the doll's head in this time is an accident. They want to get it before it is seen by too many Neolithic people and causes major unpredictable changes in the timeline. They have sensors that can detect objects that are not in the right time. Knowing he's carrying an important goddess makes Urk more determined to get her to the village of the wise ones. Again, great work, great premise, really fun. I loved the hook. I loved the fact that you got to this plastic doll, and I was like, well, what does that even mean? And then you explain it's time travel. This was great. This one felt a little bit, I mean, I don't. This is even hard to say, but it felt a little bit less original than some of the ones that got the final push. But lots of great ideas here, and a lot of it could be in the execution. Right? There's certainly a lot of stories about an artifact going in the past and people have to recover it. So that's not specifically that original. However, the era, you don't see a lot of things about the Neolithic era and things like that. And there are little bits in there that give me the idea that in your execution, you can make this really stand out. So for now, I would say I would like a little bit more of a twist to make it unique. However, it's good. And I'm very interested to know. I want to go to the Village of the Wise Ones too. I will say that was a nice little stinger. To some degree, I would like to know a little bit more too. This was a little bit short, and I know we always say brief is great, but there was a lot of times that there was a lot more time that you could have given uh, or words count. Excuse me. You had a lot more word count to play with, and you could have gone into a little bit more world building in terms of different things. But yeah, yeah, it gets very subjective. Caveman versus travels didn't feel original. I know. You can criticize, feel comment below. You can be like, I don't know what Daniel's thinking. It's okay. We're all a big community here, right? Um, and it's hard. It's really hard making these decisions. That's again why I wanted to point out these honorable mentions. So if you're one of the honorable mentions, do not be discouraged. You did excellent work. It's just everybody can't win, and we have more challenges. Please keep submitting. I want to see more of your work, and please be encouraged by your honorable mention status. All right. That being said, I know high bar already, right? Okay, that being said, it might be time to go ahead and announce our winners. But I don't want to do that because you know me, I love suspense. Instead, I would like to talk about our next challenge. What do you suppose our next challenge is going to be? Because we are going to have another challenge, and it's going to start pretty much immediately. I'm very excited about it. Let's see what some of the guesses have been. I'm excited, looking for the next writing challenge. Yep. Drop the beat. I love that and all the beat puns. Drop the beat. I enjoyed that challenge last year. Maybe character building. Good guesses. Good guesses. Yes. Right. And another thing I would like to say is that coming up this next week, we are reopening Story Sorcery. So if you're like, ooh, more challenges, and you would like to actually dive into your writing, we do have a Story Sorcery session coming up next week. If you'd like to sign up, you can go ahead and check out this link below. You can also check out on the YouTube channel if you haven't. We have a really great video. Well, I say it's really great. I made it, so I'm biased. But it is common mistakes that you can make when writing fantasy. It's really fun, and it gives you a sense of some of the tips that we're going to give in the fantasy. And of course, we just came off of a world building challenge, and we had a lot of fantasy submissions. You'll notice we had a lot of submissions on different genres, which was great. But if you're writing in the fantasy genre, or if you would like to learn how to write fantastical elements in your story, it's great. Okay, so back to the next challenge. What's our next challenge? Bam, ba-da-da, bam, bam, ba. Yes, for those of you who guessed it, it is in fact drop the beat. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah, which means I'll have to figure out like what my costume should be. I guess I should come out as a rocker. Like maybe you can comment in the chat. Like, what do you think? What's a good beat? I can't dress up like a giant beat. I would love to. I don't think I can source a costume for that. But drop the beat challenge is going to be to challenge you to make a beat sheet, which is a way to map out the arc of your story, the rhythm of your story. Yes, that's what is drop the beat. That's what I'm talking about. So, yes, it is a beat sheet. Now, if you've never made a beat sheet before, what if you're a pantser and you don't plan things out? You just discovery write, or you garden, or you pants or whatever. It's okay. You can still get involved because guess what? Pantsers really do outline. It's just their outline's like 80,000 words long. I know it's a little secret. And so, yeah, you still are outlining. And what a beat sheet can let you do is help you with your developmental edit process. So, what you might want to do is after you write that first draft or second draft or whatever, you go back and you look at your actual plot. If you can map it out on a beat sheet, it will help you take a satellite view so you don't have to just read through all those 80,000 words and remember all the plot points, right? So it's going to be a helpful skill to have. And don't worry, if you do not know how to do a beat sheet, we're going to tell you. Part of the challenge is going to be regular emails that will give you instructions on how to actually even do this whole beat sheet thing. So don't worry, you can come in completely new to coming up with a beat sheet and mapping out your story that way. And I really do think that even if you've never done this before, if you're not really a planner, you really should do it. It's going to do so much for you. I mean, if you learn how to beat out your stories, you'll be able to be more productive, better at editing your own work. It's just such a beneficial skill to have, and it's a very simple challenge. All we want you to do is submit a beat sheet, and then you get to win prizes. That's it, right? We're not gonna give you a premise of what to start with. You will start with a blank sheet of paper, so you can do whatever you want, and it's fun. And yes, as Cassie said, this can help you out with planning for Nano if you want, right? We all know about Preptober. We're kind of doing a Prepsember, getting a little bit ahead of the game. And yeah, you can have that beat sheet, and then you can go into Nano and you can be like, okay, I kind of know where this is going, and it's going to be really quick and fun. I mean, quick, relatively speaking. It's still writing, right? But you won't have that analysis paralysis. You can certainly do that. Does it have to be an existing story? No, you can write something completely new for this. Or if you had a story that you've just always wanted to know, on paper, is the skeleton of the story strong? You can do it for that as well. We are going to do even more information about it next week. Will be our big kickoff session, and like I said, we're going to lead you through the whole process. In fact, you can sign up as of now. It's right here. It's the Drop the Beat Challenge registration. Yep. And if you sign up right now, one of the first things you'll get is a little surprise, which we won't be surprised, but I'm giving you a little bit of an inside scoop, which is 200 story prompts for your beats. So if you typically get stuck at a certain part of your story, this is going to be so helpful. I actually worked on the creative of this, and as I was writing it, I was like, I wish I had this because I was thinking of different possibilities that can happen along the way. You might get to the inciting incident. Is like a major weather event happens, or you might get to the point where it's the building up for the final battle, and it's like the villain decides that it has to take place in a sentimental place for the protagonist and things like that. So it's really helpful. It can get you out of a writer's block situation, and it is a free download as part of joining the challenge. So it's another reason to join the challenge right up front. Go ahead, sign up for it. It is what we are doing starting next week, and I can't wait for it. It is going to be so much fun. Also, make sure you keep looking at your emails because we will have regular check ins. And if you click on it, it'll give you a little extra name in the bucket for participating. And for the prizes at the end, it will give you a bit of an advantage, right? Because you'll be in there multiple times. Okay. So, that being said, who won? Who won this Change the World challenge? Well, we have multiple winners. Like I said, this was so hard for us to determine who were the grand winners that we decided to go with three of them. Now, our grand prize for the Change the World Challenge, what we are going to go with is an annual membership of AutoCrit, unless you are already an AutoCrit member, in which case, yeah, you're awesome, but we don't want you to come home empty-handed, so you are going to get a complimentary story doctor session with me, and we can iron out those details as to what you want to do with that session. You can bank it, for a later date, come back at any time, and it's a one-on-one with me, so it's you can use me as a resource. Like I said, I'll answer any question, even how to do your taxes. I just can't guarantee it'll be a great answer. Okay, so we're done with all the suspense, right? We just want to know, well, who won, right? I shouldn't just keep making it go on and on and on and on. Somebody asked, why is it wasn't Drop the Beat already listed in the AutoCrit community? And that's because we wanted to give this grand announcement. Don't worry, those links in the AutoCrit community will start appearing later today, and it'll map out the entire event. And I'm glad you mentioned the AutoCrit community, because we will be doing special AutoCrit community events to tie into Drop the Beat 2, help you learn how to master making a beat sheet, all kinds of fun things. All right, so first winner I'd like to announce is Jim Tooley. Congratulations, Jim Tooley. And I will go ahead and pull up your winning entry if I can find it. Here it is. Yeah, so here is Jim Tooley's winning entry. Let's look into it. Wait a minute, I fade to black. There we go. I'm just trying to build up the suspense. That's what it is. 500 years ago, the last gold dragling died, leaving the onyx draglings in the highest seat of power. Having been the second highest tier of the caste system, onyx draglings had always been troublesome. But with the gold draglings as the pinnacle, a semblance of balance existed. Their ancestors, the great dragons, were massive, powerful creatures of magic. Draglings were closer to the size and stature of the other bipeds that crowded the land. They still had giant maws, long, flexible necks and tails, and were protected by thick scales. Unlike their ancestors, they had opposable thumbs and could walk and run on 2 feet, although most were faster on four. Draglings could also shapeshift to look like bipeds. The shapeshifting magic they inherently possessed molded their form based on their features. It was a hotly debated topic why draglings had this ability. Many saw it as a means to blend in with the bipedal races who filled the plains and forests, but the Draglings cast lived far from the bipeds and the highest mountain peaks where the air was too thin for bipeds. As different as the Draglings were from bipeds, they were from each other. Each race retained gifts from their dragon ancestry, e.g., Onyx Draglings were exceptionally gifted in magic, and Iron Draglings maintained their hard scales and fire breath. Dart was a cobalt dragling born long after the gold draglings ruled. What he knew of the golden age he learned from his brood mother. The life he lived was under the Onyx Dragling's unrelenting claw. As such, Cobalt Draglings were at the bottom tier of their caste, treated as servants to the Draglings in the elite and common tiers. The Cobalts were known for their deep blue ocean color, which made them nearly invisible in the sky on a clear day. Their ancestors, the great Cobalt Dragons, commanded the power of lightning and passed through the worst of the storms unscathed. Cobalt Draglings maintained their wings along with some resistance to lightning. Their many features had fixed their cast role as messengers and scouts, delivering messages, packages, sometimes corpses, and even garbage. Despite how he felt about his lot in life, Dart was one of the best messenger whelps in the Cobalt Dragling cast. Cobalt Draglings were not as resistant to lightning as the Cobalt Dragons. Regardless, Dart drove into every storm without consideration. His only care was to escape the rule of the Onyx Draglings by flying over the Great Sea and finding a new home. Unfortunately, the sea was a challenge. Winged sea monsters often plucked draglings and large birds from the sky and crushed biped ships that sailed too far from the coast. Yet these monsters had a great fear of lightning. Dart therefore concluded that if he could master the storm, he could survive traversing the Great Sea. On this day, a prominent onyx dragling arrives at the messenger post as a massive storm appears on the horizon. He commands that the magically sealed chest must be delivered to the Temple of the Void tonight, storm or no storm. Dart thought if he dropped off the package, he could fly across the Great Sea, and the cast would think he perished in the storm. The storm evolved into a torrential hurricane. Dart, nearly struck by lightning, has doubts about his plan. He considers turning around when a lightning bolt hits the magic chest, knocking it from Dart's claws. Diving after the chest, fearing the impact will destroy the contents, he only barely managed to catch it enough to slow it down before they both collided with the ground. Dart broke his wing in the fall. As painful as it was, he overlooked it when the chest springs open. From the chest out rolls a gold dragling's egg. The magic chest is freezing inside, so cold that the puddles around it are starting to freeze. Dart closes the chest as he goes to examine the golden egg that came from it. The possibility of a gold dragling hatchling made his mind race. This one dragling could outrule the Onyx cast and change the system for all draglings. Decided it is safer to put the egg back into the chest, walk to the temple, hand over the chest, and find a way home. With a broken wing, he had no chance of escaping. When Dart attempts to open the chest to place the egg back inside, he discovers that the magic lock reactivated. He knew that the onyx draglings would kill him for knowing a gold dragling egg existed. He couldn't fly, so he'd have to take the egg and hide. Knowing a city of bipeds was to the north, he could shapeshift and hide there with the egg. His broken wing would manifest as a broken arm after he transforms. Dart arrives in the city of bipeds run by a breed called human. Able to read and write their language with magic will only help so much. He is ignorant of their way of doing things, hygiene, proper clothing, and working for strange trading metals. Within 5 suns, he sees signs that draglings had been in the city at night, and worse, they could be any of these humans. Hiding the egg had been easy, but the egg would hatch soon, which meant he would have to care for a hatchling when the egg hatches, revealing not a gold dragling, but a female gold dragon. A real dragon could do more than change the caste system. It could be a great instrument of peace or incursion. Dart will need to find a place to raise the dragon in secret. A woman Dart befriended will offer to help him raise the baby dragon. However, when she reveals that she is an onyx dragling, Dart will have to decide whether or not to trust her. I mean, so much going on, and it's really impressive, and I'm incredibly interested. So I hope that you keep going with this, and yeah, release your book, and we can and I would love to feature it here on AutoCrit because this is really cool, isn't it? Yes, these are all really good. It's hard, and if you, it does give a Game of Thrones vibe. Yeah, it's it's really quite fantastic. So congratulations, Jim. And you'll get an email regarding your story doctor appointment. Like I said, you could use it for whatever you want. And yeah, all right. So our next winner is going to be Michael Allen Austin. Yes, Michael Allen Austin. Another AutoCrit member, um, which is awesome. We actually had two winners that were AutoCrit members and somebody who is not an AutoCrit member, which is fun. I love to see new people. As far as I know, they're new to our entire community, so that's great to like come in and come right out of the back with a win. So let's take a look at Michael's work. And I'm going to fade to black again. All right. Rudd Weston fidgets at the bedside of his employer, Alistair Marlowe, to receive one last assignment. Alistair's dwelling is a cramped space in the attic of an early 18th century church formerly used as an operating theater. The place brings back Rudd's vague memories of Alistair caring for him through sickness. Rudd is overwhelmed with gratitude and wishes to repay his kindness. Alistair, once prominent British author, psychic researcher, and demonologist, has lost public support through accusations of being a fraud. He has spent the last years of his life in seclusion, attempting to restore his reputation. Before passing away, Alistair directs Rudd to transport what he claims to be the legendary Joanna Southcott's box, a mysterious sealed chest of secret prophecies with the injunction that it be opened only in the presence of all 24 bishops of the Church of England. Alistair considers the contents of the box validation of his work as a demonologist and believes it is the key to saving his research library before it is ransacked by his detractors and debt collectors. As Rudd slips out through the back hallway with the chest, creditors arrive. Startled by their intrusion, he stumbles down the stairs, dropping the chest, without inspecting to confirm the contents are undamaged. He grabs the box and flees to the church. He begins to feel sick and notices changes about himself. His movements are jerky and sluggish, causing him to stagger into the path of a carriage. A fashionable man and woman emerge to help when Rudd explains he is in a hurry to deliver the box for Alistair Marlowe. Recognizing the name, the couple exchange glances and offer to take him in the carriage. Instead, they drive him to the secretive Society of Spiritualists. Rudd is intimidated as he is escorted to an extravagant study and told to wait for the president of the society, Mr. Thorne. Memories of being strapped to the table and Alistair's operating theater return when he hears Thor's name. The vision provokes Rudd to question Alistair's truthfulness and open the box. Inside, he finds an empty cracked jar along with a letter addressed to the church. Disenchanted, Rudd contemplates abandoning his task and simply selling the chest until he catches a glimpse of his name in the letter. Before he can read it, Mr. Thorne enters the study, frail and confined to a wheelchair. Thorin takes the letter from Rudd, reading it silently. When he is done, he describes Alistair's expel Rudd's spirit in the operating theater and capture it in the now cracked jar. Thorin implies Alistair's concocted the courier job to get Rudd to the church to help reuniting his spirit with his body, luring their interest with the promise of the famous box. But while running his finger across the crack in the jar, Thorin surmises Rudd's spirit escaped and already returned to his body. Thorin grins, wheeling around to block the exit from the room. He explains that the society pays for soulless bodies, allowing their sick and dying membership a new chance in a young, healthy form. Thorin claims he has no choice in what happens next. He instructs someone to contact the church and use the society's political ties to have an exorcism performed on Rudd. This will once again empty Rudd's body, leaving it free for the ailing Thorin to possess. A week later, a well dressed Rudd issues a statement to the press restoring Alistair's reputation and transferring his library to the Society. Rudd has repaid his debt to Alistair, but the reader is left to wonder whether he lost himself in the process. Really creepy, cool story. Yes. Fantastic. Awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, excellent. All right, so we have it's hard to know what to say to these because they're really cool. All right, so the final winner I have is Dusty Nally. So congratulations, Dusty, and you will be receiving an annual AutoCrit membership. So I hope that means we'll see more submissions to challenges, please, because I like your work. we put you to work here at AutoCrit, right? We don't just let you join the community. You gotta keep writing. That's the whole thing here. All right, so once a hero, always a hero. Armani used to be sought after in his glory days as a ship AI, but as with all AI, his time spent with the races of Centaurus A triggered AI singularity or self awareness. All self aware AI are downgraded to courier ships, forced to spend their days alone carrying messages and cargo for the Planetary Alliance. This trip is Armani's last, the humiliation of going from an intergalactic war hero to a lowly courier when he develops feelings and PTSD is more than he can handle, and he looks forward to the destruction of his consciousness upon his return. That all changes when he discovers the content of his cargo. After being told to keep life support running, Armani finds a curiosity he thought lost upon being demoted. Snooping into the ship's cameras, he finds a dog, but not just any dog, the last dog in the universe, and she is undeniably pregnant. Shocked at his discovery, Armani checks the log and realizes he is on course for Cordain, a planet known for its scientific research. The future of this dog and her puppies are tiny cages, painful procedures, and experiments, no better off than Armani's recent life. As he slows his ship, undecided on what to do, the Planetary Alliance pings him, wanting to know why he has stopped and to resume course. Armani is unsure how to proceed. He can follow orders and fade into oblivion after delivering the dog, thus absolving himself of the problem, or take a chance and follow his heart. The choice is an easy one. Armani disengages communication and overrides autopilot, cutting off the warnings and threats of his commander. Scanning through his database, Armani chooses a moon in the outer territories. Valair, home to the friendliest race in the galaxy. He spent time there as a warship, recovering from heavy damage taken in battle. As soon as the course changes records, an automated warning flashes through the ship. Armani quiets it, unwilling to put the dog through more stress. Several stranded hours into the trip, a ship dips into the very edges of Armani's radar and retreats. He's being followed. Panic, the very feeling that caused Armani's discharge, overwhelms him, and a momentary lapse in judgment leads him, the dog, and the pursuing PA fighter ship into a dense dust cloud. Hoping to keep out of the fighter ship's sight, Armani realizes all his navigation equipment is useless. Thinking quickly, Armani swivels as many on deck cameras as possible to point out the windows, which is difficult because crewless courier ships don't have many. The cameras show a grim situation. Everything is dark. Tiny specks of dust ding his ship, and a shuddering leaves him uneasy. The audio on the ship's camera relay a deep and eerie roar. Armani does some research, and the revelation shocks him. A black hole is hiding within the dust cloud. Armani flips the ship around, no longer concerned about the PA fighter ship, until it comes back into sight with friends. With them in front and a black hole behind him, Armani will only be able to survive this by uncovering memories of his warship days. He shifts, painfully aware of the dog not being strapped down. The ships follow, forming into battle formation, unaware of the danger lurking just out of sight. A plan forms within Armani's circuits, and he runs calculations. The gravity of the black hole is not yet strong enough to capture a ship, but if he can figure out exactly how close he can get before it pulls him in, the smaller, lighter ships will have no chance. Armani uses the gravitational pull and the amount of decibels the black hole gives off to measure exactly how far away it is and how close he can get before being stuck forever. With the fighter ships just seconds from capturing him, he apologizes to the dog and wrenches the ship sideways, speeding directly towards the black hole. He swings the ship back and forth, pretending to dodge, but in reality, using the momentum from the black hole's gravity to prepare for the slingshot to safety. They shoot out of the dust cloud, and the black hole fills Armani's screens. He must get within a certain distance, or else the fighter ships will just follow him out. But if he goes too far, it will trap him in the gravitational pull. As he flies closer to his turn mark, the ship's power blinks. The pull is too much, and if he loses power now, he and the dog will be lost. Armani must make a tough choice. The only way to give the ship the power it needs is to shut down life support, effectively taking away the dog's ability to breathe and have normal gravity. He takes the chance, shuts down life support, and guns the ship. He reaches the turn point in seconds, wrenches the ship around, and gives full power to the engines. Armani flings around the event horizon and shoots out of gravity's grasp. A quick look in the rear shows the fighter ships trying and failing to escape. He plunges into the dust cloud, slows, and returns power to life support. Flipping through the cameras reveals the dog is alive, and Armani sets course to Valair, where the dog and her puppies get to live a happy, experiment free life, and Armani transfers his consciousness to an android to hide from the Planetary Alliance. I just love all the creative choices in there. Uh, yes, my, awesome. Yes, dogs and sentient beings with PTSD. Yeah, I really love this. It's just so much fun. There's so many plays on the typical expectations of the audience for a lot of these elements. You expect there to be a life form, you expect to be a person, it ends up being a dog. There's so many different things. And yes, that sounds amazing. So, Destiny Nally, please flesh this out, write it out. It's a great concept, and I would love to see that done. All right. So, that being said, as I mentioned earlier, we do have the Drop the Beat challenge next week. And we will also be going over, the concept of story beats in general. So, if that's not something that you're used to doing, please take a listen and you can learn. And please get involved in the challenge no matter what, because it will be a lot of fun. Again, there is the place to sign up for it. It's another free challenge. We love doing these challenges to get the community involved. And yes, please join us for that. And I am very grateful to all of you for your participation, for your involvement, through your growth throughout this whole process. I thought it was an excellent challenge. I certainly hope you all enjoyed yourself as well. And we'll see you around the AutoCrit community. Bye, everybody.